Hi everyone, today we are talking about web applications created using GWeb development software. This is not my first episode about GWeb, so I won't stop to explain what it is, why it is, what it's for. Let's just get to the point right away. In the previous episode, I talked about my project Forum. This is a web application where we can leave messages, do editing, edit and delete messages. I explained the architecture and the logic of the program, and today I will focus on the method of saving and managing information. It's clear that messages need to be written somewhere and stored. It's clear that we need to somehow retrieve them, edit them, delete them, and so on. For simple applications, I use TXT files for these purposes. I also talked about this in my previous GWeb episodes. Today, I will show you how to connect a database. Of course, ChatGPT can tell you the general information, and if someone wants more in-depth information, they can always find it. I will show you what AI bots cannot do. So let's get straight to the point without further ado. As a database for my Forum application, I use MySQL. This is a product owned by Oracle, not to be confused with Oracle database. It is an open source relational database, and we will use it often in the future. Why MySQL? Well, first of all, because my web hosting provider, Bluehost, offers this service. Second, we will continue to use this database and deploy it later on our own server. In the future, we will create our own server with a static IP, run the NI web server on it, assign to it a domain name, connect an SSL certificate to work in the HTTPS zone, HTTPS layer, and deploy MySQL. Earlier, for creating standalone and network applications, we used MS Access. For example, for the database tool application. We dedicated several episodes to developing this program, and all of them are added in order to a playlist with the same name on our channel. The MS Access database is good for small companies or for individual applications such as CNC, computer numerical control machines, manufacturing scanners, various test stations, medical equipment, and so on. Of course, in this case, you need a license for Windows and MS Office. MySQL is open source, and therefore, of course, this database is much more convenient. Besides that, you cannot use MS Access for applications that you will run on different hostings. They simply will not accept files with the MS Access extension. And also because the performance of MS Access is only for a few hundred users. But we are aiming for millions. We don't want any limitations. Well, we can talk a lot here and compare different databases, their advantages and disadvantages, but today this is not the goal of this episode. Our goal is to integrate the database that our hosting provides and work with it. And this is MySQL. As usual, we will need a combination of JavaScript and PHP. JavaScript will work from our program and call the PHP files, and PHP will be the link between our program and MySQL. This is very roughly, in simple words. Let's start. First, let's create the database and the tables. For this, I go to my hosting, Bluehost website, Laplanda, cPanel, databases, MySQL database wizard. And here I create a new database, Laplanda Forum Lana. And also I will create a new username. Let's say Lambda admin Lana. I will generate a password and save it in a safe place. We have to be very organized when working with the databases. So I created a txt file in my project folder, and here I saved myself a cheat sheet. The database name, the password, and the username. I named the file db laplanda forum lana password. Of course, for each hosting, the user interface can be different, but the principle is similar. Next, we give all privileges. Our database is created. Now I will create a table in my database. I go to the Bluehost page again, but not to cPanel, databases this time. I find my database, Laplanda Forum Lana, and click on 3 dots and choose Access PHP My Admin. The PHP My Admin panel opens. I select my database from the menu on the left. Laplanda Forum Lana, and here I can create new table. I type the table name, table_1, and how many columns I want it to be. I will have 5. I click create. Now I will fill in the data and comment. The first column, index ID, will be unsigned primary key and AI, auto-incrementing. Here I will briefly touch upon the specific features of MySQL. Each database has its own specifics. In MySQL, there is this feature, unlike, for example, in MS Access, a column must have a primary key. What is a primary key? A primary key is a unique identifier, a value in a cell that, first of all, must be present there, so null is not allowed. And second, it must never be repeated. Strictly speaking, the rule sounds like this. Primary key uniquely identifies each record in a table. Every table should have one, ideally a simple auto-incrementing integer. And this is exactly the rule that we applied when creating the table. And why medium integer unsigned? Because this is a positive number from 0 to 16 million, and I think this number will be enough for me. Yes, and I choose also auto-incrementing here. Of course, I could manually write a number into this cell, into this column, by doing auto-incrementing, that is automatically assigning a unique sequential number to each next record in a column. But MySQL gives me this function automatically. This column is used exclusively for the needs of MySQL. I don't really need it, but theoretically I can use it for some of my own purposes. For example, I can determine under which sequential number a particular record was created. The other columns will be varchar, that is string. A string can be varchar, char, or text. What is the difference, you know? And if you don't know, you can always find this info. I save this. So now let's fill this table using PHP my admin GUI. I go into insert. In index, the first column, I don't write anything, it's auto-populating. In user ID, we write user's first and last name with an underscore. Where does the underscore come from? The underscore is added at the moment of logging into the program. Next, we have timestamp ID. Where will I get it from? Let me just generate it now in our format. I go to my forum GWeb development software project. I opened my forum project in GWeb application, and now I will look for the timestamp function. How do I look for it? I know that the timestamp function is triggered when I press the Add User button. I can find this button on the front panel. If I open tabs, show tab selector, I know that this button is on tab 1. I click on the button, find it on the diagram, and here I see the yellow colored function member add. I click on it, go to its diagram, see function, green colored function, time format, click on it, and I am on the front panel of time format function, and I click run. I run the program, and as you can see, the current date and time is generated. I copy it, and also I want to bring to your attention that timestamp is enclosed in parentheses. I always use parentheses in my logic for the timestamp. Next is article ID. So this is the title of the article. Let's say my title will be microcontroller. So I type it. And the article text will be the definition of what the microcontroller is. I'll take it from Google search. Okay, now I click go. Now in the background, an SQL command has been generated and executed. One row inserted. Let's now check if this record exists in our database. Go to SQL tab here, and we see that the query is automatically formed. Select all columns and all rows from table 1. Let's click go, and we see that our data has been added to the table in our database. By using the same principle, we create all 8 tables in each topic. We have 8 topics. So we have created the database and the table in our provider Bluehost, and now we will connect to this database from our program. For this, of course, we will use PHP code that will call the database, that is, send SQL queries. And we will request PHP and receive data using our JavaScript code, which is integrated into our program. Let's look at the structure of our file branch in our hosting. Let's go to our FTP user interface, FileZilla. And here all the PHP files for working with the database are located in my folder. Let me find it now. It's in forum, data and folder called DB. And here are these PHP files: dbconfig, delete row, search form, select rows, update row, write form. Now we will look at each of them and what they do, but first we need to create a PHP initialization file for the database. I go to folder DB on my computer, my project folder, and here I already created a copy of my real config file, just to show you what a configuration file with my training database looks like. Here we see the required parameters: the database name, the password, and the username. Now let's look at the file delete row. And here we see the standard SQL command, SQL query for deleting a row. And yes, we will not look at coding. All of this is standard. Right now we are looking at the architecture of the program. Next file is search forum. Here the SQL command is standard. Next, select rows. Again, here is the standard SQL command. Test search. Select SQL query, standard, update row, select SQL query, and update. And the last one, write form. And here is our SQL query. So we are done with PHP. Now let's look at how we call these files from our program. And yes, I want to remind you that the source code and all the files are in the project. The link to the project is in the description. So how do we call these files from our program? For this, we use a JavaScript script, JavaScript code. This code in the project is located in the file in our GWeb application. If we go to file, to web app gcomp, we find data exchange JavaScript file. And here in MySQL, you see the path to the file write forum PHP. This is the path to the file search forum. This is the path to the file select rows. And this is the path to update row file. And this one is for delete row PHP file. So all the files that we just opened. So what does the JavaScript code do in this case? Let's look at one function. For example, this one. WriteDB is the name of our function. And the arguments that we will use in this function are table ID, user ID, timestamp ID, article ID, article text. Everything else is a standard SQL request to call the PHP file. Now let's see how we integrate this function into our program. For this, we create a JavaScript library. If we right-click on web app gcomp, go to new JavaScript library interface, we can create our library, our new JavaScript library interface. I already have a library created, so I delete this one and go to my JavaScript library, find my function WriteDB, and here I see all the arguments that I just told you about: table ID, user ID, timestamp ID, article ID, article text. How can we use our JavaScript library in our program. We go to the diagram of our project. Here it is. On the left menu in project items, software, web app, library folder, we see the list of all functions in our library. Let's find the one we need. Write DB, here it is. And by the way, you can easily color the function icon. Just go to JavaScript library, click on it, edit icon, and change the background color. For example, let's change it to green. Done. And now we can easily distinguish this function from other functions. So here on the diagram, if we move the cursor over to the inputs of the functions, we can see again all the arguments here. Table ID, user ID, timestamp ID, article ID, and article text. Now let's look at the programming flow, how this function is used. If I right-click on the function, find all instances, the program will show me how many times my function is used. I see that it's used 2 times. This one that I just added, I will delete. I don't need it anymore, and I will look at how my function is used in the program. Here I see that the function writeDB is inside the function db write article. Let's find it also in our menu, project items, software, web app, and here I see the list of these functions. List view, it's more convenient, and I find it here, db write article. Let's look at it. Let's see how many instances this function has. We can also see that it's 2 instances. I will delete this one that I just added, and I will go to see the actual usage of this function. So here I see that this function dbWriteArticle is used in the event case, button article new publish, value changed. Let's see where this button is located on the front panel. I double click on the boolean and we see the button publish. So this means that when we press the publish button, the following actions are executed. The case button article new publish value changed is triggered, and the function dbWriteArticle is executed. Let's open the function and see how it works. This is our programming flow of the function. We know that in LabVIEW the program is executed from left to right. Here we have a sequence of logic and functions, but we are interested in the function that we are discussing, writeDB. When the conditions are met, the true case is triggered. And we pass the arguments to our functions. We see that this function writeDB is only a small part of the whole process. We discussed the architecture and the logic of our program in the previous episode, and you can always study the diagram in detail. The link to the projects you can find in the description. Perhaps you can suggest much better solutions. Please share your ideas in the comments. So let me summarize. In this episode, we looked at creating a database, tables, and managing data flows from the program that we created using GWeb development software. As you can see, for our design, we used a diagram where we used functions and different logical elements. Most of the functions have been already created in GWeb, and some of them we created ourselves. This is exactly the beauty of a graphical interface. Using individual functions, we can quite easily build complex architectures. Once we create a function, we can use it many times. The absolute majority of functions, as we know, already exist, have long been wrapped into icons, and we don't need to spend time creating them. In addition, we can be confident that all the functions provided by GWeb are reliable, optimized, tested, and can be integrated into any web architecture. In the next episodes, we will continue to explore the great tools of National Instruments. That's all I've got for today. Thank you for joining Laplanda Tech. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you learned something new today, give this video a like and subscribe to learn more from upcoming episodes.